Welcome to Podnutz, the Computer Repair Podcast, episode number 149. I'm your host, Jeff Halash. This is our live call-in show for computer repair techs. The call-in number is 1-888-697-0162. Podnutz, the Computer Repair Podcast is brought to you by Reclaim Me Pro, the all-in-one highly configurable data recovery software. For a free 14-day trial, go to reclaimme-pro.com. Let me introduce the co-hosts, the great panel we have today. We've got Chris Carruthers from the Remote Support Tech team. How you doing, Chris?
I'm actually feeling kind of weird in a big empty office. Jeff, how about you?
I'm doing good. I'm in the same old, so yeah, I'm doing well. Also joining us today, we have Marvin Bee from mbsystems.net. How you doing, Marvin?
I am fantastic.
You are fantastic. All right, very cool. And also joining us today, we have Aaron Michael from TechieTutors.com. How you doing, Aaron?
Always good, thanks. How are y'all?
Very good.
Good.
And also, last but not least, we have John Hance from ComputerPros.net. How you doing, John?
Doing great, Jeff. How's it going?
It is going excellent. I'm having a blast sitting here ready to talk some tech with you guys. So, Chris, why don't you start us off this week and let us know what types of things you've been dealing with in your business?
Yeah, so really, it's been kind of a same old week. It's slowed down a little bit here this week, so I've been able to get a lot of administrative stuff done, which, you know, is always nice because I'm sure I'm not the only one that falls behind on paperwork.
Oh, no, never.
No? Are you sure?
Every freaking week, yes.
But today's been kind of weird because it's Thanksgiving up here. And so the shop's actually closed. We still do the remote support and all of that, so, you know, our white label stuff is still going. But there's nobody in the store because I don't want people showing up. And it's okay. Weird. Because, yeah.
Somebody there now?
No, people are walking by the windows and looking in because the open sign's off, and I'm sitting in front of the window. My system I brought home with me so that I could work from home better than with the laptop. So I'm using the front office, and there's a big open window behind me here, and people are peeking in.
Nice. Very cool. All right. Sounds good. So normal day-to-day business, just, you know, moving forward.
Yeah, virus removals.
Still, isn't it amazing? It never ends.
I had 4 more crypto wall infections this week.
I'm telling you, know, and it doesn't matter what we do. There's nothing to protect people 100% against those things. You know.
Well, exactly, and that's the conversation that I had to have with every customer. Right?
Sure.
You know, this last customer, they're not on our service plan, but our client uses GFI, so they had GFI installed on that system, and I had to go through a 45-minute explanation with the employee's boss to explain to them why they can still get infected even though they had a service plan on their computer. You know, luckily it wasn't my company that was under the heat lamp on that one because I had no control over any of the settings. But yeah, that was a bad one.
Okay. Yeah, one of the things that, because I had the same thing happen, I had a customer that got the CryptoWall virus. What I had done was I changed my contract, and right below where it says which type of plan do you want, it has you're responsible for your own backup, or you're using my backup service.
Yep.
And I make them check the box. And the other thing I have in there of the things that we don't cover is a CryptoWall or crypto virus of any sort or anything that changes any file systems on the computer. I said, we'll clean it up, but I highly encourage people to have a backup to make sure they can get their stuff back. And I had to do that so I was comfortable, and I let the customer know right up front where they stood if they decided not to have some sort of backup. If they were going to do it on their own, they're on their own, literally.
Right, and it doesn't matter, though, how many times you tell them that or anything, because it's not until they're in the situation that they realize that they made a mistake. I mean, this was a company with 10 employees that was trying to make this argument that we were responsible for all of the data that they lost because they declined a backup service.
Right.
So, you know, I know we've beat this dead horse so many times on this show that, but yeah.
I mean, it's good to, you know, so have your P's and Q's in place. Make sure you got your paperwork there to protect you as best as possible. And it sucks. I mean, every time it happens to a customer of mine, my heart sinks. I mean, I don't like it. It sucks. I try to do whatever I can to mitigate the problem, but the reality is there's not, if they're not backing up or they have no backup, there's not a whole lot I can do. So
Yeah.
all right. Also, let's see, John. Now, obviously, you work on systems and things every day. What's been going on in your business?
Kind of like Chris, another regular week, been a little slower than usual. So I'm actually doing some remodeling. I'm adding a new storage space, kind of redoing our front room there, so I've got a little more room for inventory. So that's my project for this past week and the coming week. Yeah.
You know, it's great to have that downtime a little bit where business is a little slow and you kind of work on your your procedures and processes and some of your storage areas and things like that you can kind of organize yourself a little bit better, so when that rush comes back, you're ready to go.
Yeah, and we actually just switched from, we were doing everything, I told you on Podnutz Daily a week or two ago, we were using Repair Shopper, and then we abandoned it, went back to paper, and now it's switched to the PC Repair Tracker by Foolish IT.
Yep.
One of our other stores used that successfully, so we bought the new version, and I rolled that out, and it's been great. Been really impressed with it.
Okay, great, good. Yeah, as long as you, it doesn't matter what system you use, as long as you have a system that's going to work for you and your company, that's going to keep your stuff straight, so that you're not, scrambling like me on a weekly basis trying to fill out my Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Hush, Chris. Hush.
No, I'm not even going to do it.
All right, and also we haven't seen him in a long time, but we have Aaron from Techie Tutors. Aaron, what's been going on in your business as of lately?
Lately, excuse me, I'm happy to say I've been actually a little bit more busy lately, which is kind of nice. Yeah, so in addition to getting a pretty steady flow from the people that I've been working with for a while, got 2 referrals pretty recently and brought on like 3 more pretty significant clients, some people that'll do a lot of work and long term, so looking forward to that for sure. Haven't gotten to do anything crazy fun lately, like out of the ordinary. I mean, a couple new networks, viruses, more QuickBooks stuff. Nothing super crazy or fun lately, though.
Okay. What types of viruses are you seeing out there?
Let's see. Mostly like just web stuff. I'm trying to remember the browser hijack. I forget what the TrueV. I think that one lately. Some of the garbageware. PC optimizer, I mean, whatever, just minor stuff. Like I said, nothing fun, nothing complicated, but pretty stoked about the new people. So
cool, very cool. All right, and Mr. Man in the Van, Marvin Bee, what have you been up to in your business lately?
I've actually had, it's been a good week. Had 2 customers actually do a good job of letting me know beforehand of changes they were doing in their network. So rather than call me the day of an installation, they gave me a little notice. So I had one that had a big new plotter installed that needed to go in the network, and another that had a copier that needed to go in the network. And rather than them calling me saying, hey, we got a machine here, we got to put on the network, can you take care of it right now? I was actually able to plan it on being there when the technician was there. We could set it up. I could do the MAC address static IP reservation through the server. We can do all the testing, and basically I was able to be in and out of both jobs in under half an hour, and it's a lot better than them calling me when I'm either on the road at another client or something, and I've got to scramble to try to get all that stuff done. So that was good.
Yeah, that is good. When your customers actually communicate with you and it seems like you actually matter.
Yes. Unlike another customer I have that it's funny because I handle their Florida office down here, and they're based out of New York. And it's another vendor up there that handles all their stuff. And let's just say that I have been out to this office probably 5 times in the last month to set up new computers, monitors, install routers and switches into their server room, and half the time I've gone out, stuff hasn't been delivered properly, or the wrong stuff was delivered, or the computer that needed to have 3 monitors only had ports for 2 monitors, and it's, I mean, it's frustrating, but I get to bill them full rate every visit, regardless of whether I do work or not.
And that's what a lot of people or a lot of customers don't really understand is we're not. No, I don't. Well, I don't want to say everybody. Most of us want to do a good job. Most of us want to get paid decently, but we're not out to take advantage of the customer. And the customers do not realize by their actions they're actually taking advantage of themselves and costing themselves more money than what it would cost to properly go through the right channels and do it.
It's funny because this is a combination of the main office in New York and the vendor, up there in New York, not communicating with the Fort Lauderdale office. And I show up in Fort Lauderdale, and the Fort Lauderdale people are like, we're not doing that. I mean, I had a guy, literally, they sent down, they wanted me to go there and do a time machine backup of his Mac so that they could send the new Mac to their New York office, prep it, get it all ready, then send it down to Florida. So they wanted me to show up, do the time machine backup, and then come back when the new machine was there and restore.
Okay.
Well, I take that back. They wanted me to send the backup to New York so they could do it all up there. So when I showed up in Fort Lauderdale to do that, the guy looked at me and goes, I'm not sending my backup of data to New York. And he said, they send the machine here, you can do the backup and restore here. And he goes, doesn't that seem right? I said, that seems right to me, but that's what they wanted. So literally I had to charge them. Yeah, I can tell you. I had to charge them $150 just to show up to have them turn me away.
Oh, I know. I don't get it.
And it's not about the money. It's about the time wasted.
Exactly. Yeah, you still made money, but the problem is that's not really. You want that customer to have their stuff up and running and working, so that you can keep that ongoing relationship. It's not about gouging them or taking advantage of them. We try, and I think every good technician, every good computer company tries to do the best they can and save the customer money. The customers, just because sometimes the prices they were throwing out and we're not the cheapest game in town, they don't necessarily look at it that way. So it's tough.
It is, but that was my week, so interesting.
Cool. Yeah, always fun. All right. Well, I haven't. I had a screen repair, and I will tell you that on screen repairs that are a little higher end systems, this is a little HP something or other. It's a fairly easy screen repair. You basically pull the outer edge off, 4 screws, unhook it from the back, put the other screen in, put the 4 screws back, snap everything back into place, turn it on, and it works beautifully. That was an easy fix to do, and that was actually for another shop in Michigan, and they just not something they wanted to deal with, so I did it for them, and got paid to do it, so it was kind of cool.
Oh, sounds like Jeff's starting to get into my territory now.
Yeah, no, the whole remote support thing, dude, you can keep that as much as you want, because I'd rather stick a fork in my eye than lead people through help desk stuff, to be honest.
Well, it's not for everybody.
No, it's not. I don't have the patience. I'm too stubborn. Anyways, so let me talk about, a lot of you probably don't know, and this is not really tech related, but it is kinda. We did a website upgrade to the podnutz.com website, and I'm thoroughly happy with how everything turned out so far. And I just want to thank Steve Cherubino for putting together the new website, and this was months into making. This has been going on for, I think, 8+ months. He kind of put the foundation together for that, and I want to thank Steve McLaughlin, our owner, door-to-door geek of Podnutz.com. He actually did the site changeover on a Monday, and predominantly, like 90% of it worked. There were some broken feeds, which thank God for people like Matthew Rodella came in, and he actually fixed those feeds for us.
Woo.
So that was cool. I mean, we paid him, but he still fixed the feeds, and he knew what he was doing. He got in the back end because he's very, very familiar with the WordPress and how it works. So that got back up and running. We were only out of sync maybe for a few hours. By the time he got it fixed, everything's been working great. I also want to thank Richard Quirin for the album and site art. He took it upon himself. And we've had some stuff back and forth where he said, hey, I really want to try to do this, and he put stuff together. We had to make, tweak a couple things, but I really, really like the site art and the album art. It looks great on the brand new site. So everybody might have a few things going on with their feeds. You might see it, like a double download or something like that, but don't worry about it. You can just cancel that out, and it should start downloading normally from here on out. So, and then I've been laid off all week, so from my regular job, so I've been taking a few hours here and there, and going in there and making sure all the feeds for the shows that I do are pointing in the right direction, all the links for the MP3s and all that kind of stuff, and making sure all the show notes and different things that are there for what we've had, and so that was fun. Not really, but it's done, so I'm very happy with that. So hopefully you guys can go there, check it out. We do not have a way to download the files yet, but that's coming. There's a few things that we need to add, and we know about it. So yeah, I apparently a lot of people love to go to the website and download the files and listen to it on their computer, which is fine. So we definitely will have that available. It's in the works, and then there's a couple things that we're going to be working on for the RSS feeds and all that kind of stuff, that you can get those a little bit easier from the website. And then if you guys noticed, on the website we have the podnutz.com/live, and then there's 4 shows that actually do a live show on a weekly basis. And so what we did was Dora and I got to talking, and we created 4 different live pages for the different shows. So ours is under Computer Repair Podcast. I think it's Computer Repair Podcast Live. So you can check it out there. If you just go to podnutz.com/live and click on that, it'll take you to the page where it shows the 4 different shows. You can click on any one of those shows, go to the live page. What I'm going to do from here on out is, there's a way, as soon as we get done with this episode this week, there's a way I can go in, change the code, and reset up another event for next week. And then what you'll be able to do is you'll see a countdown of when the show is going to go live, when it's going to stream, and also you'll see on the right-hand side, you'll be able to click on it and actually watch some of the YouTube videos from there of the past shows that are on our YouTube channel. So that's exciting. Definitely check it out. See what's going on over there. We should have some more show notes and different things like that. So last week we had Ricky Saul. He put together some of our links for our show notes. So hopefully that starts coming in on a regular basis. And yeah, I'm excited. A lot of cool things, and it looks like our site is no longer from the 1990s. So that's very exciting. All right. So I don't think we have actually. It's been a slow week overall, I think. We don't really have any emails with any questions at this point. So that was kind of surprising. There's been people that I've corresponded with back and forth asking personal questions on some stuff, but nothing for the show to bring to the show. So
yeah, I think it's been, with an exception of Aaron over there, I've been all busy all week. I think it's been pretty much across the board where a lot of people have just been slower than normal this week.
Is that normal for this time of year? Does anybody know, or does it from what I've seen from the past years, is the lulls come at different times, but it seems to hit the whole industry as a whole.
I generally get one, right around October.
Okay.
Usually it seems like the first half of October, because my birthday is on the 16th, and every year for my birthday we've been dead. Which is nice, but yeah.
Well, yeah, that's good.
So pretty consistent.
Huh. Interesting.
Mm-hmm. We usually get 1 week every 2 to 3 months that's just dead.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I feel like there might be maybe something to that. I can't say I experience it all that much, but definitely some weeks it's like all about virus removal. Some weeks it's like I get calls about cell phones, just 5 of them. I don't know, goes in ebbs and flows.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Very good point. All right. How about you, Marvin?
Well, technically this week was slow for me, but I really don't have slowness. I still did a ton of other remote stuff, the regular updates and regular stuff I do for the client. The difference is I did not have the projects that I normally do. I've got, a couple of server installations that got pushed back. I've got a Office 365 migration that'll probably happen here in the next couple of weeks. There are times when I purposely make it slow when I tell a customer, I'll get to that next week. Just because, the wife's away, so I need to have a little downtime.
Yeah, it's funny. You know how I make it purposely slow? I don't answer my phone.
Yeah.
I could do that, but it's my wife kind of yells at me because why don't you just answer the phone? Nah,
Yeah.
I don't feel like it. So, anyways.
Well, what we can do is talk about our upcoming Jetpack show.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Because
that's true.
It's a special one that I think will be of some interest to a lot of the Podnutz listeners. It is coming up on next Monday, October 19th.
Mm-hmm.
And it starts the live show starts at 12, but there's a pre-show at 11:40. And the topic this week, or this show, is going to be, well, they phrased it a little funky, but basically it's going to be, is the indie tech ruining the MSP world? So, go ahead, Chris. What were you going to say?
No, nothing.
So basically what they did was they got a couple of the larger MSPs, and I'm going to be representing the man in the van, all of us small independent techs, and we'll just be talking about trends in the industry, talking about are the things that we are doing as smaller techs really interfering with their business? Are they interfering with our business? All those types of things. So that'll be a good show, I think, for a lot of people to pop in and listen to.
Yep. Yeah, and it'll be live at noon Eastern Standard Time. I'll also tell you guys, right now we're still working on creating an RSS feed, or to have an MP3 format or a podcast format. That is in the works. That'll probably be coming. But once the show is done, you can still go to the YouTube channel or go to itjetpack.com and actually watch the show in the evening if you're not available during the day. But if you can come during the day at 12 noon, that's best, because you can get in the chat room, and then we do an Ask Me Anything where you can ask any of the panelists whatever questions you want. And we'll have people, like Marvin there, and Corey from Instant House Call, and Pierre from Microsoft, and all these different different size companies, and a couple of medium-sized MSPs will be out there and be able to talk about this thing of I've heard every little thing about, it's either man in the van, trunk slammer, Johnny Ponytail, which
Johnny Ponytail was my absolute favorite.
It was my favorite too, because when we were at CompTIA ChannelCon, I couldn't at least half the room in there. Not half the room. I would say at least there was 5 people in the room that had a ponytail.
Yep. And all of them, when they mentioned it, did this hair slick back thing and grab their ponytail like instinctively. Like, what do you mean? There's a problem with my ponytail?
Yeah, you don't like my ponytail? What's wrong?
It was great.
So yeah, these and we've done this in the past where the Podnutz Network has talked about pizza techs. We've talked about this for years. It's funny, these guys, all of a sudden, these bigger MSPs and stuff like this, think that they've come up with this new way of talking about things. But the way they're almost getting to the point where they're insinuating that us, as single independent techs that might work out of our home, or God forbid, might even do this part-time, that we're a problem in the industry. And we need to have 5 to 10 employees, and we need to build up a huge MSP business, and we need to be charging, top dollar to make it, and it's like going, okay, you can't shoehorn this business into one thing. You can't mold it into one mold. You can do this business many different ways, and that's what's cool about this business. Now, yes, are there people out there right now that are charging what I'll say rock bottom dollar for doing that? Yes. But you know what? I've said this in the past. I don't care. They're gone in 8 months. I'm talking every time they're gone within 8 months. I don't see any of them sticking around. So it's like we get all messed up over these, I don't know, what we say as far as the man in the van and what we're really talking about. we're not really talking about the Marvins or the the Johns or the Chris's or the Aarons. We're talking about really those people that don't know what they're doing, but they go out there and they try to fix a problem. And let me give you an example. This, in my opinion, would be a tech that doesn't know what they're doing. They get a person's computer, and it's virus-ridden, whatever, it's messed up. And what they do is they'll take that computer and they'll go, oh, I can fix that for you, and they'll do a nuke and pave because they know how to use a recovery partition, they know how to use a disk with the ISO on it, or as John will beat me up for, a USB stick. But anyways, that's what they'll do. And what they won't do is they won't back up the data. And so they'll give it back to the customer, and they're really happy, and they go, hey, I redid your system, and I've got all your updates and everything done, and you're good to go. And the customer goes, where's my pictures for the last 5 years? Oh. And that's where it becomes a problem when you have somebody that kind of knows what they're doing. They're smart enough to know what they're doing without having the attention to detail to make sure that they're doing the job right, that they're protecting the customer as best they can.
Right, and we're going to find that though it's not just the pizza techs that are doing that. It's Bob the technician in a big box store
right.
that also will do the same thing. And just because they're in a big box store doesn't mean that they're going to be any better than an MSP or us as independent techs. So the struggles that are going on out there are actually industry-wide. Those would be some of the things we talk about. The bigger thing too is, we've talked about this before. Anybody that fixes a computer can pretty much call themselves a tech. And if you can Google, faster than the next guy, sometimes you can figure things out a little bit and call yourself a tech. But one of the things that I'm going to be talking about is the whole idea of, for those of us that are doing this as our business, are going to find a way to make it so that we are presenting the same level of service for our customers that any professional business would. And we're going to take care of them. We're going to do our best to make them happy. We're going to take care of their data. We're not somebody who, we're going to have a wealth of experience that we've built up over the years that some of these fly-by-night guys don't have. They're just out there, they think they can get in, make a quick buck, and as soon as they realize, oh, crap, this is work, I'm going to go do something else.
You mean I don't just have to reinstall Adobe Reader? And you gotta look at it too. It's not even just the prices that they're charging, because if anybody actually knows what they're doing but they just don't know how to run a business, and I've seen that happen, right? Someone's charging $25 as a flat rate to fix anything, and they find out within a week that that's just not going to work. So
right.
I don't have a problem with somebody charging too little. I don't have a problem with somebody who doesn't have a shop. I mean, especially here in Barrie, most of the techs in Barrie don't have stores because they close. This is a city with a very high rent rate, right? So what I'm going to look at is, okay, do you actually know what you're doing, right? That's it. That's if you know what you're doing, if you're actually doing a virus removal, if you're actually fixing the blue screen and not just installing something that'll do whatever to make it fixed, or just reinstall Windows because you don't want to bother with it, you're not a tech. Although I think I do need to buy googletech.net now that Marvin has man in the van.
Yep.
I mean, I think it's worth throwing out there too, in addition to that point, that there's a lot of seasoned technicians that might run into a scenario where they don't necessarily, I mean, maybe it's over their head. Maybe you've been doing this for years, but you run into something that you haven't seen before. If you don't feel confident that you can do it, that's the time to be honest and say, hey, I can help you maybe find somebody who specializes in this area a little bit more. But I mean, no matter how long you've been doing it, once you take a job that you're not confident that you can complete properly, you kind of become a man in a van in a sense, right?
That's a good point. Yeah.
You do if you don't treat the customer right. I mean,
yeah.
Most customers will recognize that if we get to an area that we don't normally do, and we tell them, my business is focused on Microsoft servers, networks. I really can't help you with the Apple product.
Mm-hmm.
They'll understand, and it's the person that says, yeah, I can do it all, just so they can get the business.
Yeah.
That's what we have to fight against. And those of us that have been doing it the right way, we know what we can and cannot do. We know what's in our sphere of influence. We know what's in our technical toolkit that we can handle.
And it's not like you can't bring that up during your pitch when you're first making the contract with that client, or they're first dropping their computer off, or whatever the situation is with your relationship, is to say, like, yeah, you know what? If we can fix a lot of things, if we can't fix it, we probably know someone who can.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's fantastic customer service right in on itself.
Right.
If somebody brought in, a server in here, yeah, I could probably figure it out. I mean, I took Windows Server in college, but I mean, that wasn't today's server. That was like Server 2012, I think. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
God. Anyway, not the point. I haven't touched servers basically since I got out of school.
That's not that old.
We're on 2012.
You know what? Okay.
It's all right,
whatever.
Chris.
Or it was the one before. That's not the point of the story, though. So as the servers, I haven't touched a server since I got out of school, except for messing around with the server that I have back here so that my kids can play Minecraft. Right. So if somebody brings me a server, okay, I don't really feel confident with that, but I got this guy Frank. I can bring him in,
Mm-hmm.
and I have no problem doing that. So don't be afraid to reach out and use your circle of friends or techs or acquaintances or whatever that can do that job, because at the end of the day, it's going to be your relationship with that client, and it's going to be your name that gets thrown out there as the person who didn't fix it right, the person who lost my data, the person who wrecked my server.
Right.
You don't want to be that person.
Yeah, exactly.
While we're here on Podnutz, actually, I think I should mention I've got a computer in stage for the drop-off area right now that I went ahead and put a new drive in and put Windows on, but the drive that was in there was clicking data recovery once you get to opening the drive. That's not my specialty, and I'm not going to touch it. But Alex Tremandy from your show, so I was able to get a hold of him, send him an audio recording of what it was. He confirmed, yeah, it's the problem that you pretty much thought it was. Super big help. And his rates are super affordable, so if you don't do data recovery, you could give him a call too.
There you go. Yeah, no, community is great. Hey,
Yep.
John, from your perspective, now obviously you work in a shop where you have different employees that you manage inside that shop. What are you guys seeing out there? Do you see a problem with the independent techs?
Not a problem so much. We have a few in our area that kind of tinker and toy around, and 2 or 3 of them actually buy parts from my store. So I'm not really offended by it. I know that their skill level isn't where it should be to be doing what they do, but I'm not the police. I'm not going to stop them from
Right.
causing problems. So eventually, the stuff that they do always comes back to me 90% of the time. So if they want to go fool around and screw stuff up, it's that's their business, I guess. But other than that, it's pretty much the same few guys I see year after year. But I don't see anybody opening up businesses. Nobody. I think the market's not big enough to sustain 2 businesses, and ours is pretty large already.
Okay. So you don't have anybody that actually works out of their home that does this full time in your area?
There's 2 guys, but they probably do a couple $100 a month. I mean, they're not real. They're not actually competitors,
Gotcha. Well, and I've always said this too, is I don't really believe in competition. There's probably 30 independent techs within probably a 10-mile radius of me.
Wow.
I don't, you know what, with the amount of people here, just in a 6x6 square mile radius, you have 93,000 people. I don't really care about competition. Whatever. You know what? If you like working with me, that's fine. If you don't, you can go on to somebody else. That's perfectly fine. I have no issue with that at all.
Yeah, we have, I think, 60-ish thousand people in the whole county.
Okay.
And it's a large county in East Tennessee, so it's not a big market to sustain multiple computer companies.
All right, so I have to tell a story because you reminded me. I was traveling down south one time. Don't take offense to this. And I was coming back from a conference. This was years ago. It was in the 90s. And I'm getting gas at a gas station in Tennessee. And but I'm sitting there filling up my car, and I'm talking to this guy, and I said, "Hey, how you doing?" He's like, yeah, I'm doing good. And I said, yeah, we're just down at this convention down over here, and talk about computers and different things like that. And he's like, he looked at me and he goes, and it's serious as all get out. He goes, computer? Is that one of them TV screens with a typewriter in front of it? Kid you, dude, I almost wanted to bust out laughing. I'm like, but he was dead serious. I mean, that's in this again, early '90s.
Let me tell you, Jeff, those guys are still here, and I still meet at least one of those guys a month.
Okay.
I still help people that point to their big CRT monitor and call it the computer. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah. How many people call the computer the hard drive, right?
Yeah.
No, the CPU.
The CPU.
It's the CPU. Do I gotta bring you my CPU?
The drink tray.
Yeah, just take it out and bring it on.
But it goes to show that not everybody is in tune with, not everybody needs a computer, not everybody needs to be online. Most of us would, or I shouldn't say most of us, a lot of us would go into panic attack if we couldn't get online or whatever. But for a lot of people, it's like, yeah, so there are different areas, and the reason I say that is sometimes people will need certain things in certain areas. I would say in our area, there's a lot of, I would say your average home probably has 3 to 5 computers, depending on the size of the family, because everybody's got their own laptop or tablet or whatever. So, that's pretty commonplace, and that's why with 93,000 households, I don't really see the whole competition thing in this particular area. So I don't worry about that stuff, but other people actually do. And John, full disclosure, I'm one of those guys that used to go to my competitors and actually buy hard drives and stuff.
I've always been friendly with those guys. If they can make $1 and I can make $1, that's fine with me.
Well, that's what I figured. I figured, hey, you know what? I'm supporting the local business where they're getting all these drives in. I need a drive right away. So instead of ordering it, now it's like I keep that stuff on hand, so turnaround's a little quicker.
I actually used to wholesale parts to some of those guys a few years ago.
Oh, okay.
They've kind of dropped out, but I didn't mind a bit that they can pay costs, and maybe a $1 or $2 to cover the processing of me ordering it and getting it in. But generally wholesale it, let them make their money on the part, and
very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny because another story going back to that. I remember when I lived on the east side here in Michigan. I was doing my first power jack repair, and it took me 6 hours. But anyway, that's another story. So in doing this power jack, I finally got the power jack off, and I went to a local computer shop because I was trying to get it done quicker instead of going on eBay and ordering one. This is when I first started off too. Probably back around when I first started my official business around 2010. I had never done a power jack repair before. And so I went to this competitor and I said, hey, I've got this machine apart and I need a power jack. I see you guys do laptop repair. Can I buy one from you? And I was willing to pay like $25-$30 for a $2 power jack, right? And he wouldn't sell me one. He's like, no, we do it here, and if you already have it apart, we don't do that. And I'm like, are you serious? You're giving up making like $25 because you want the business? And I knew right then, I go, this guy will be out of business in 3 years. Done. Yep. Because that's just, in my opinion, that's not smart business. If I can sell something and make a profit on it, and it's not harming me in any way, what's wrong with that? So. All right, let's take a quick commercial break. Our show today is brought to you by Reclaim Me Pro. Reclaim Me Pro is the all-in-one, highly configurable data recovery software for both beginners and experts. It recovers data from multiple file systems, including Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. Covers everyone. Finds lost partitions, which I've used it to do that before, and it works great. You can save and load your saved state. It's equipped with a highly configurable disk imager. It'll do sector by sector, virtual hard disk X, and reads most partitioning schemes from Microsoft and Linux. Powerful RAID analysis tools for complex RAID recovery. If you guys have ever tried to manually rebuild a RAID, it can become a problem if you don't know what you're doing, and this helps those tools get you to that point where you can get that stuff back together. They also offer free data recovery training and help you understand partitions, file systems, RAID recovery, and more. For a free 14-day trial, go to reclaimme-pro.com. That's reclaime-pro.com. Use the offer code Podnutz for a 50% discount, which on this piece of software will do a lot of different things for you as far as data recovery. reading those drives, rebuilding that RAID array, whatever you need it to do. And it's fairly simple to use, and they have great tech support over there. So definitely give it a try and see if that's going to work for you in your business. If it's something that you want to get into a little bit and see what you can do with it. All right. So with that being said, I want to go back to, and this is probably a great panel to do this, kind of going along these same lines. We've talked about many different things on this show. We started off this show, and Chris, showed how you need to have 6 months income to get started in your business, and you got to have all these things in place, and you've got to build that business up from the ground up, but you got to have something that you can fall back on a little bit. And we've talked about using different tools, free, paid, whatever. We've talked about people like me using Excel spreadsheets versus using something like QuickBooks and stuff like that online. But let's be honest. What does a brand new technician that really wants to do this, because I've got some young people that have come up and through my kids and stuff have asked, hey, what do I need to do in order to learn how to do computer repair, or in order how to how do I learn how to fix these things? And to that I say, just grab your stuff like we all did. Mom and dad's computer breaks, we go in there and we fix it, or whatever, or we start fixing family and friends' computers, and we just start to learn how to do things. But what are some of the things that we need to just get started in a basic computer repair business? You're not going to open a shop. You're going to start off out of your home. You might start this part-time like a lot of people do, but you want to start simple. So what are some of the things from your guys' perspective that you see that you need to absolutely get started in this business? There's a couple that come to mind, but I want to hear what you guys have to say first, and then we'll add on from there.
A van.
A van or an SUV.
Got to start growing your ponytail out.
Some plastic totes. Yeah, okay.
Lots and lots of hair gel.
Who wants to go first?
I mean, I'll just throw one out there to get it started. I mean, it's super free. You can go on and get your Google business page and at least have some sort of web presence. If it's not a website, you can do your Facebook, Twitter, whatever. Just get all the free established stuff so that people can, I don't want to say find you, but you can give reference to something that someone can tangibly look at, and it legitimizes you in some manner at least, on free level.
Right. That's a great tip, because that's one of the very first things that I did was use the Google Business. I think they call it Google Business or Google My Business or something like that now.
Yeah.
And what that'll help with also, once you start to build up organic traffic, what that'll help do is when somebody does a search on certain keywords that are on that Google My Business page, you'll come up in the map section. I don't know if you guys have ever seen it, but when you do a search, you see the map there, and you might see 2 or 3 people that have a business within your area, and that's usually what it is. It ties into kind of your local area. So just as far as who's closest and all that kind of stuff, which I come up number 2 in my area now. So
nice.
Yeah, it took me about 3 years to get there, but hey, now it's there.
Ever.
So, but yeah, that's a great resource. All right, who else?
I mean, you're going to need some basic hand tools, at least screwdrivers and maybe an electric screwdriver, external DVD drive, a couple of flash drives, that kind of stuff. Just some of the real basics that you probably already have, but you'll need to have
right.
some for some jobs at least.
Yeah, that's a good point too, because I remember I had a micro center that was close to me when I first started my business, so I could travel there. It's like 40 miles away now, so I don't really get there as much anymore, unless I want to take a day trip, which I don't really want to. But anyways, I bought a pair of a small set of screwdrivers, and they were the nice, you don't have to do this. I mean, I think I was using some of the screwdrivers I already owned in my own home, but what I wanted was something that wasn't going to strip. And I think it was like $20 for a set of these. And they're the tools I still use today. I still don't use an electric screwdriver, even though some people have recommended that I should buy some of these, nice handheld ones, and I probably will one day. But I'm just so used to doing it by hand. It's got the the nice rotating handle where you can put your palm on the top of it and kind of screw it, and so in or out, and it's just it works. They work so great, and I have not stripped any of them, and I've actually pulled out stripped out screws using those tools, and they would still work perfectly fine for $20. And $20 is, in my opinion, for any type of tool, is absolutely cheap. I've been using them for 6+ years now. So.
Yeah, that's how I feel about the iFixit screwdriver kit.
Yes.
It's got every bit you've ever used, and you can put a little more torque. They put that hole in the end of the handle there.
Yes.
And you can pull it apart, so that works pretty well. I've had a set of those for, I guess, 4 years now, 4 or 5 years, and I've never lost a bit, stripped a bit. They work great.
Yep.
I think they're $20 or $30 on Amazon.
Yeah, they're not expensive at all.
Yeah.
Even going straight to their site, they're really not. Yeah, I think it's like $20 or $30. It's not again. And you know what? You'll have if you do get the iFixit kit, you'll have every end that you could possibly imagine, even down to taking apart Apple devices.
Yep, we picked up the iFixit screwdriver kit and the iFixit Pro Tech tool roll. And between the two of them, we've had everything that we've ever needed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've got a few of those and a few of those magnetic mats too that you can actually lay the screws on. And so if you need to move in a different area, you pick up the mat and take it with you, and your screws stay lined up, which is easier for reassembly.
Yeah, exactly. So back in the day when I first started off, I would actually, when I was taking apart a laptop, I had it flipped upside down. What I would do is I was pulling the screws out, I would place them in the order in front of me so that I knew exactly which holes they went back in. Then I got to the point where it didn't matter anymore. I just threw them in a bowl. But I will tell you, on some of these more complicated laptops, some of the higher-end stuff, they've got a lot more different size screws in there. So I started using the mat. And what is nice is that magnetic mat is cut off, and it has little black strips that are kind of make little boxes. And so you can start just taking screws from one set, like the bottom, and put those in one pocket. You can take the screws from once you get inside, put those in another, and so on and so forth, so that you can reassemble. It's easier to look at that stuff and reassemble it. And I think that mat's like $20, and it is well worth the money. It works phenomenally. And you're right, you can pick that thing up. The other thing that was happening was, what I'll do is I'll pull a screw out and I'll kind of throw it on that mat, and the mat catches it. Back in the day, I would sit there and I'd be pulling a screw out, and it would drop, and it would hit the table, and the little tiny black screw went in the carpet. And so next thing I know, I'm on my hands and knees looking for this stupid little screw. And if I just had a little mat there, I would have saved myself a lot of agony.
You can see it too with you down on your hands and knees and your face right up against the carpet.
Exactly.
Trying to find the black spot in the blue carpet.
Horrible.
You could just run a magnet over the carpet, right? And
yeah, I could have, So when I can't find it within like a minute, that's when I pull the kids in. All right, get down. Let's go.
I check out one of those. The funny, I use, for a mini fridge, the little tiny ice cube tray. I use that for screws when I'm mobile. Just tuck it in my mobile bag. And
nice.
Put things in. Well, the only reason I thought of that is because a long time ago when I worked on my car, I used to keep ice cube trays for bolts and things like that as you're working. And when I got the mini fridge, I had that little one. I'm like, oh, this will be perfect. I'll take it with me. Now I wish it had a cap or something, but
that's great.
I'm going to get a magnetic mat like you guys.
We actually have a small rack that we have on the workbench, and it has a bunch of little containers with lids on it, and so that's what we use because we don't really do repairs like that mobile. And then just each container is for a different computer or a different project. And then we have our spare screws container because we bought a bunch of spares because I don't know how many times you guys have had a laptop come in that my keyboard's loose and it's because one of the screws are missing.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I have a little mint jar with those in my mobile bag because you look at it and you're like, has anyone ever worked on this before? No. Oh, okay.
No. Well, I don't believe you.
You're missing like 4 screws, but fortunately I've got some. They'll only charge you $5 each.
Hey, here's another thing too. Altoid tins.
Mm-hmm.
The Altoid mints, those things are great for storing screws and stuff in that you can just keep right there, and you can throw it on top of the computer while you're, waiting for whatever parts to come in, and everything's right there. So that's another way you can do that. And again, a lot of these things you're already going to have around your home that you can absolutely use to get started. You don't need to have all these things in place.
Yeah.
One thing I did that helped was, like you said, the bins with the dividers in them with the lid that locks.
Mm-hmm.
For the universal chargers, we've got a bunch of the same model. So I labeled which tip goes with each brand. And
Nice.
I keep 2 of those in every room in the office there. So wherever you go, within arm's reach, there's a charger and every tip you need. So that's a lot easier than having to search and dig through a box of chargers and everything.
Right.
So
exactly. No, that's good. And a long time ago, and this is what I still use today. The only time it ever gives me trouble is I use a universal charger, and I can't remember what the name of it was, but I think I paid I think I got it on sale on Amazon years ago for like $10, and it comes with all the different size tips. And so I've used it. The only time it gives me trouble is when I go to start up a Dell machine, it goes, "We can't read your charger, so you're sure you want to go? Press F1." Yes, you're still getting the 19.3 volts going into your system. You're fine. Move on. But other than that, I've used that for years, and it works fine for, especially when somebody goes, you ask them, "Hey, did you bring your charger?"
Nope.
"Oh no, I forgot."
Yeah.
Or you're troubleshooting something, computer won't turn on, it won't turn on. It's like, okay, and you could tear your hair out looking at everything, but until you find out the transformer's bad and the power, and that's why it wouldn't turn on.
Right.
Yeah, I keep a couple. One of them's got a little screw thing that you can turn so variable voltage, and then
Okay.
a whole bunch of different tips, which is kind of nice to have sometimes, because it's not always laptops that I'm working on with them too.
Yeah, the other thing, and these are cheap. You can get them like a Harbor Freight or something like that, a little voltmeter.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great way. It's one of the first things I do when somebody says they're having power problems on their laptop is I will check the end. I'll plug the charger into the wall, and I'll check the end to make sure that it's getting the right amount of voltage out of there, or if it's even working at all. Because a lot of times you can't see, any internal damage that's inside the brick itself. So that saves.
I use one of those every day. We've got a nice Fluke meter, and people come in every day with, the computer won't turn on. Test the charger, it's dead. Tell them a universal, and then it's easy money.
There you go. Did you see Marvin? He just smiled. His eyes lit up when you said Fluke.
We've had that thing for years. I love it. It's great, good quality.
It's nice when you have good tools.
It is.
It really is.
It is. The other thing I ended up buying, if you guys are going to go mobile, and probably most of you are not going to do what I do and have people come to your home, which is fine. I don't recommend it for everyone. I went to Home Depot and I got one of these steel tool cases with all the little dividers in the bottom, and then it can hold screwdrivers and different things like that, and paper clips and zip strips and all the things that you need, needle nose pliers and all that kind of stuff. And then in the bottom you can put your USB cables, your Cat 5 cables, all that stuff right in there. Have your tools for maybe your power tester or whatever for desktops and whatnot. And it's a nice little case. It's like a little suitcase that you can carry with you. It's one of those. It's metal, so you can bang the heck out of it and it'll be fine. I've had it for a long time. Matter of fact, my kids used to say when I was leaving the house, they go, "Oh, you're taking your assassin case with you again." Yes, I'm going out to assassinate somebody right now.
And we got it on tape.
Yeah, exactly. No, but that was a great. I mean, and I think that thing was $20. Some place to keep your tools, and not only that, you can use. I used to use it in my home office in my other place where I would keep all my tools and everything right in there, and I just had the lid open, and it kept all my stuff organized. So that was great for even small in-shop stuff to make sure you got all your tools in one spot and you're not searching all over the house for a particular screwdriver or something.
Yep. If I'm going to recommend two things, really, because we've talked about tools and all of that, and really that's needed. If you don't have tools, you're not getting in. PayPal account. Because not everybody's going to want to pay cash, and especially if you're just starting out and this is part-time, you don't know what your cash flow is going to be like. So, investing in an Interact machine is probably not going to be the best thing for you. And the Technical Computer Repair Business Kit.
Yes.
Would be the other one.
Yeah.
Just for all of your forms, your templates, invoice templates, and just so that you have something to protect yourself. Because I don't care if you do one job and then decide that you're not going to do it anymore. If that one job lands you in court, then you're going to be out a lot of money. So, I know, Jeff, you're going to talk about how anything that you do to protect yourself is only as good as the judge that's reading it, but at least you've got something there so that the customer is less likely to decide to take legal action against you because they signed off on the form.
Yeah, exactly. No. I agree. It's a barrier to entry. So it's one of those things. It's the very first thing I did in my business. What I did was I took that Technical Computer Business Kit years ago, and I was able to formulate it down into one document front and back. And it was the first thing my customers would come in. I'd have them fill out the front with their name, email, all that kind of stuff, and flip it over. I'd say, what they would always say is, "Do I have to read all this?" I'm like, "Absolutely not. Just sign it. All you're doing is giving me permission to work on your computer. I'm going to take the best care that I possibly can to make sure that everything's right." And for the most part, that's really all you need. I mean, there's big businesses out there that don't do any form of paperwork at all. But I, as a sole entrepreneur or solopreneur, I would definitely take that and get that taken care of. It's only $99. It's a cheap, inexpensive investment. And here's the kicker. You're gonna love this. It's got the Excel spreadsheet that I use for my finances in it.
Jeff,
Cherry.
You promised me you wouldn't talk about that anymore.
Sorry, but it's still what I use today. So you know what? You want to start keeping track of your finances, what's going in, what's going out, so that you can have your stuff ready for your tax person at the end of the year. That's probably the best way to do it. And I will say this: a lot of people will say that it costs an arm and a leg to do like an LLC or an S corp or something like that. There's a couple different routes you can go when you're starting your business. You can get a DBA, which is a doing business as, which will give you the ability to basically get a bank account in that business name. What I would recommend, and it only cost me $50 to do it, was I went to the state of Michigan website, looked up all the forms and stuff I needed, downloaded them, filled them out, sent them in. I got an EIN number right away, which is basically a social security number for your business. Within a few weeks, I had my LLC was approved, and they sent everything back, and it cost me $50. That was it, because I did everything myself. There's other services you can use out there that you can do, but I didn't feel the need because it really wasn't that complicated. It was like a 2-page document that I filled out with all the information, and they did the rest. They approved it, and there I was ready to go. And then all I had to do, it's just $25 a year for a renewal on those. So, I mean, again, the few things you need to get started off right. These are good things to get a good foundation. Plus, it kind of shows you that you're going to take this a little more seriously than just maybe the person that's, I'll give this a try. Maybe it'll work. Maybe it won't. Be serious about taking your business and starting off with a good foundation.
Now, the Canadian equivalent of what Jeff's talking about there for the Canadian listeners on here, because there might be 4 of you, is it's a master business license. So same idea. You can do it as a sole proprietor. You go on to the CRA website, and they'll link you to it, or you can just Google Master Business License Canada. I just did this for my wife, actually, for her massage therapy business. I think it was only $50.
Okay.
You get if you do it during business hours, so before 6 p.m., you get your Master Business License in your email right away, so you can print it off, and that's what you're going to need to take to the bank if you want to open up a business account. And you didn't really touch on this too much, Jeff, so I'm going to. If you have a separate business account from your personal account, it doesn't make that much of a difference, really, for you if you're a sole proprietor in Canada. What it does give you access to is merchant services in case you decide to start taking debit and credit card payments.
Okay.
So, having a business account is important for that. For those who are deciding to actually incorporate, having that separate account is a must because you have to keep those finances separate. So it's just up to your own organization. My wife has a completely separate account for her business account because she wants all of her business expenses and business income to come in through a completely separate account to make it easier for accounting. And it's going to, I know her, it's going to save her a lot of money in the long run by doing that. So just food for thought for that section of it.
No, that's a good point. Yeah, definitely. Rule of thumb, regardless, in my opinion, because it's really not expensive to get a business account. A lot of times you go to the right banks or the credit unions, you can do that for free. But the reality is you never want to mix your personal finances with your business finances, no matter what type of business it is. It doesn't matter. You need to have those separated because that separates it in your mind and gives you a better understanding of where your money's going and so it never becomes where'd I spend this money on, or where'd that money go, or it's just, trust me, it'll avoid a lot of headaches. It's, like I said, when I first started mine up, it was free. I didn't pay anything for my business account. All I had was my LLC and my EIN number, and that's all I needed. And boom, they set it up. So.
Also, anybody thinking about starting up a business, whether it's part-time or not, find out what the tax laws are when it comes to sales tax in your area. I'm going to tell you now that in Ontario and in any other province that I have looked into that uses HST, which is the harmonized sales tax, where they kind of combine the federal and the provincial into one tax rate.
They make it sound so nice.
Right? If you make over $30,000 a year, I believe is the number, which, what is that? That's $2,500 a month. That sounds like a lot when you first get started, but it happens pretty quick. And this is money collected, not earnings.
Right.
So if you sell one system that's worth $2,000, but you only made $300 off of it, it doesn't matter that you only made $300 of it. That's how much money you collected. Right. So get your HST number or get whatever sales tax number it is that you need for your area if you have a low threshold like that to have to collect it, and if you need to collect on services. I picked up an HST number right away and began collecting sales taxes as of day one, not knowing if I was going to hit over that line, because if you get over that line and you hadn't been collecting sales taxes, they're going to ask you for the money, and ask is a very loose word. So you're going to have to pay those sales taxes whether you collected them from your customers or not. You may as well collect them now and remit them anyway.
Right.
In my opinion.
Yeah. No, that's good. I'll say, so in the state of Michigan, you don't pay taxes on service, but you do pay taxes on parts, hardware, different things like that. So, every place is different. Yeah, definitely check that out, because, again, getting started with that stuff is very easy to do, and you might as well just, again, these are small things that don't really cost you money. You think of it might look like it's costing you money, but the reality is you set your things up to get it so you're not in trouble later.
Yeah. So. Well, this company started on $500. And I bought some stuff that I might not have necessarily needed to buy. I got into QuickBooks right away because I didn't want to use an Excel spreadsheet.
Whatever.
I built it from there, and I took the money that the company was making and used the money that the company was making to continue to reinvest to grow. So, not everybody's going to have $500 when they first get started. I personally know a number of self-employed people who had $150 to start their business and made that work.
Yep.
So you can do it. Just, if you've got the money to invest in these tools, invest in these things, get the business kit, get your tax numbers. If you don't do it now and you start your business with less than you could have, and I don't mean going overboard and getting an office. I mean just, these little one-time things that you pay for. You're either going to work out fine, which in my mind isn't very likely, or you're going to wind up regretting that you didn't buy this thing and now you have to wait for it, or you're going to find out that you had to purchase that HST or that master business license and get an HST number because you're making too much money, and you're going to shoot yourself in the foot. The last thing that I want to see, and I've seen it way too often, is for a young business, promising business that's doing a great job, wind up going bankrupt or wind up closing their doors because they either couldn't keep up with demand because they didn't invest enough into their company, or the government comes after them because they didn't do something right.
That's interesting. Okay, so sorry, I was having, for some reason on my secondary computer, the audio device decided to reload itself.
Are you telling me that speech didn't get recorded?
No, it's recorded. Everything's recorded, but it's just with the little doot doot doot. So sorry about that.
I get one chance to say something intelligent during this show, so if you miss recording it.
Marvin, what types of things do you think people need to start off with?
All of it. Well, I'll say this. in my situation, I started off a little bit different because I was actually at a store and already doing stuff on the side, and
Okay.
I had already been in the process of planning out my stores that I was going to open. And, so I had a lot of the stuff mapped out, but pretty much all the same things that we've all discussed in terms of, planning is key. If you have the time to plan it out and make sure that you figure out how much money do you need to have to start. And, I actually started out with a $5,000 loan from a friend that I set as my business income, so I did not take any of my money to start, but I did it that way. I also already had an attorney to help me put my business together so that I took care of all the stuff of getting my computer name, and down here in Florida we've got, city licenses, county licenses, the state sales tax, all of that stuff. I actually started out with here, it's not called a DBA, it's called a fictitious name.
Right.
And actually create. So MB Systems was a fictitious name for the first 3 years of its existence. Then I converted it into a S corporation. But I did that with the help of my attorney and my tax accountant because I will say that I made a mistake in the beginning. And in trying to operate my business as a fictitious name, sole proprietor, I thought I would be able to set aside enough taxes to take care of everything, and I didn't. So for a couple of years there, I owed taxes to Uncle Sam, and that was a joy.
Yeah.
But at least for me, it wasn't terrible. It's not like some people do that and they just never recover. They'll have back taxes for 5, 6, 7 years, and it ends up being, 10, 15, 20 grand, and you just can't pay it back. In my case, I actually kept it pretty low, so it was something I could actually pay off pretty quickly. But in terms of, structuring the business, taking the time to structure that right, figure out the biggest thing that I see with techs is not understanding how much money you need to make to not only survive, but to build the business. And I think that's something that, a lot of people think, well, if my rent or my mortgage is this much, I've got to make this much. And the people that don't plan don't realize you've got to make so much more than that to take care of all the other business expenses that come up with, your legal fees and the money that you've got to pay, your accountant, the money you've got to pay for all of your utilities, your car expenses, your travel expenses, all those types of things. So, if you have the time to sit down and really plan it out and figure out, how much does my business have to generate? And when I say generate, meaning in terms of gross versus net.
A big difference.
That is a huge difference that a lot of people just don't, they just think, well, yeah, I want to make 60 grand, so I just need to make 5,000 a month. No, you probably need to make, 100 grand to make that 60 grand.
Right.
So.
No, those are definitely good points. And I think the point is, I think from even when I started off, I basically was able to take the tools for, because I did work, I was doing it part-time and I had a full-time job. I didn't really worry about having income from the computer business itself. What I decided to do was I would take all the money and I would reinvest it in the business. I'd buy another tool that I needed, or I purchase something to, streamline my business, make it work a little bit better, those types of things. So you can do it within a short period of time. And it was a short period of time. The other thing was I would come up to a problem where I would need a certain tool, and I'd get that tool. And so that tool, I basically wouldn't make any money on that particular job because I needed this, a little bit more expensive tool, but that was okay because now that tool, every time I used it, was paying for itself. Mm-hmm. So you take a hit on it once, and then you use it time and time again, and it's going to make you money. And it's just kind of the thought process you need to have.
Yeah.
And it's not a bad way to start. I mean, if especially at first, and especially if you're doing it part-time and you have an additional source of income, whatever money is coming into the company is absolutely something that could get reinvested into it. Because really, at the end of the day, it's going to help you make more money. It's going to be exponential.
Yeah. Good point.
That's smart.
Is there anything else that we haven't covered of, basic tools that you guys, or basic tools or things you need to have in place in order to, I think Chris hit it on the head. I think paperwork is still, in my opinion, when you're starting off, is number one. Even if you make something, if you look online and you make something up yourself, but I didn't want to take the time and effort to do that, so I used something that was already put together and was ran through a bunch of, lawyers and different things in different areas of the country and worldwide, actually. So, I mean, Bryce, who put it together, is from Australia. So, they checked things out there. They checked the things in the United States to make sure that that paperwork would, stand up. Again, it's a blockade of sorts to just kind of give you that first step of protection. But at least, in my opinion, it helps you to communicate with the customer and say, here's what I'm going to do, and here's what I'm not going to do, and here's what I'm responsible for, here's what I'm not responsible for. They sign the paper. I mean, that's really, for 99% of the time, that's going to be fine. And that'll stop, like Chris said, anything from happening at that point. The rest of the stuff is a handful of tools and stuff like that. And then once you get to the process where you become a little more streamlined, you can get some of the more automated tools and different things like that. But is there anything else that we didn't cover outside of that?
To Marvin's point in terms of planning, I mean, some sort of marketing strategy. I mean, some idea of like who you're going to be helping and how are you going to talk to them? How are you going to meet them? Are you going to go to places and hand out business cards? And are you going to go online? Are you going to send emails? Are you going to put signs up? Are you going to pay for advertising? And or all of those things, but some sort of plan. Otherwise, you're that place that grand opens, you open your doors, and all right, nobody's here because no one knows we're here.
Right.
No one knows that I'm doing this. So some idea, some plan as far as marketing strategy, advertising strategy goes.
Right.
Yeah, or at the very least, knowing who your target market is going to be, so that when you're ready to start advertising, you've got that. I'd also recommend the Chamber of Commerce, both because it's a great way to, meet people, but you also wind up generally getting a bunch of discounts on things that you're going to have to pay money for anyway. So
Right.
The Chamber of Commerce, I'm pretty sure that I saved more money on services than I actually paid the Chamber to be a member.
Networking groups, kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of inexpensive, and I haven't done any of these, but from some of the other technicians I talked to, there are a lot in a lot of different areas. There's great, I don't know what you want to call them, networking groups, meetup groups, whatever.
Yeah, stuff like
that you can. Yeah, I mean, there's different groups that some are, they just meet on a regular basis and talk about whatever they talk about, but a lot of times that's a good way to, hey, I'm doing computer repair in this area. Here's what I do, and somebody else is going to say, yeah, I sell insurance and I do, whatever. So there's a lot of ways out there that you can, and they're fairly inexpensive. You go meet up at a restaurant or building or whatever, $10, $12, and you go and kind of schmooze a little bit.
Schmooze.
Schmooze.
Well, I mean, you listen to everybody's pitch, and you get your turn to make your pitch, and then you kind of collect some business cards, and now a roofer, now and I don't know, whatever, real estate agent. There's all these different people that come to the table, but it's nice because a lot of them are set up to where, if you're a plumber, you're going to be the only plumber in the group. If there's another plumber, he's got to be in a different group, or she's got to be in a different group, whatever. So you can know that any of those people in your little group, however many you attend, you're going to be their one go-to person, at least as far as that group goes, for IT support or whatever it is that you do.
Yeah, BNI's been pretty good for that.
Right.
The thing to remember with that, too, is the more you go to those types of events, the easier it is for you to give your own elevator speech. I mean, there's a whole bunch of things to talk about with referrals, and I'm not going to really get into that because this isn't the forum for it, or at least not this show. But when you listen to a bunch of different people from a bunch of different types of businesses give their 60-second elevator speech, and then you get to practice yours, the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it, and the higher your conversion rate is going to be when you're having that conversation with somebody in line at the coffee shop.
And then it's not that weird to walk into a business with your card and the expressed intention of introducing yourself and what it is that you do, because you've done it for a bunch of strangers before already. Makes it a little bit less weird. And like you said, in the coffee shop or the grocery store, if someone comments on the shirt that you might be wearing that has your company logo on it, it's super comfortable to advertise to them on the spot.
Yeah. You also, and I don't know how the Chamber of Commerce works in the States, but up here, the Barrie Chamber of Commerce, when a new business joins the chamber, I get an email with, hey, here's who joined us this week. So I get a pretty good idea of who the new companies are that are coming into town. So it's not that weird for me to either call them up or show up at their business and just ask them, hey, what do you guys do? I want to know some more information. Here's my card. Here's what we do. We'd love it if you came in sometime. And it makes you a very friendly face. It makes you somebody that's recognizable. And if you do it right, they're probably not going to need anything right now. They just got everything set up, whatever. But when something goes wrong, when something is broken, when they need something new, if they have that relationship with you, even if it's just coming in with a coffee, they're going to think about you when they need something. They're also going to think about you when their friends need something, and a lot of people starting new businesses know other people trying to do the same thing.
Right. Yeah, one of the things I did, because apparently I was lazy and didn't want to network with people, is I use Google AdWords.
There it is.
And I use that from day one. And you know what? I never lost any money on it. Now, I would break even for the first few months, but that was okay. So it was a learning curve. And then once I got past that first couple months, it was drawing in regular customers for me, and I've been doing that ever since. So I've actually had to back down on it because I didn't want to be as busy. So I was able to make those adjustments and adjust those over. And I've done it in 2 different spots. So I know a lot of people will go, well, it's not going to work in my area. And a lot of times, once you sign up for, if you sign up for like HostGator for your hosting or something like that, you'll get a $150 coupon to start your Google AdWords account. So most of the time, the first couple months can be free as long as you set it up correctly, and don't try to be too aggressive out there. And you'll see what types of customers it'll bring in. Plus, it'll help with your SEO a bit, and make people know about you when people are typing in keywords for, laptop screen repair or computer repair near me. Different keywords like that. So I learned it from somebody else, and that's what I've been doing. So that worked out for me. Anyone, John? Anything else that you can think of?
Experience would help, but you gotta start somewhere.
Yeah, I was going to say, the experience of hard knocks. So how do you get to that point where you get the experience without actually working on the systems? And a lot of times we've told people in the past, work on your friends and family's machines. Maybe you don't get paid for those. That's fine. But you learn. And I'll go back and I'll tell this story. Back in 1999, I bought my first modern PC. I'd worked on, PCs and stuff earlier than that, but when I was a kid, my first modern PC was a Dell Pentium 2 400 megahertz machine with Windows 98 on it, and that stupid machine cost me like $1,200. So when something would go wrong, back then, Dell tech support was actually in Texas. And I would wait till like 1 or 2 in the morning because I used to stay up late. And I would call them. I would call some sort of help desk tech down there. And I would talk to them and say, I've got this problem. How do I fix it? And when they would tell me what to do to fix a problem, whether I'm formatting the machine or going through and doing some commands to fix something, what I did was I took 3x5 cards and I actually wrote down the commands that he was giving me, and I kept this whole file folder full of 3x5 cards that had all these command line things that I could use if I ever had that problem again. Well, what I started doing was I started using that on other people's computers, and that's how I learned. I learned from Dell tech support what they did, simple things they did to fix the machines, and it just started snowballing from there. So definitely that's one way to get, not so much anymore, but that was one way to get started. Any other ideas to learn when you're first starting off?
Mentor. I had a couple good mentors just in my professional life, like doing this sort of stuff for a living, but people that have been doing it for longer than me that worked for the same company, I think taking me under their wing and letting me ask them questions and bug them when they're trying to work was massive for me.
That's how I did it too. Yeah.
That's good. It's good. Yeah, it's all, you know what, we don't know, we said this all before, is we don't know everything. We always have to be willing to learn, and sometimes it's easier to learn from other people. You know, I say, you know, experience is the best teacher as long as it's somebody else's experience. Let that sink in.
Listen to me now, hear me later.
But it's true. You know, you can, I've told my kids this for years. There's one of two ways you can learn. You can learn from my mistakes, or you can learn it the hard way. Either way, you're going to learn the same lesson. It doesn't matter. You choose. You know what? And a lot of times they want to do it themselves. That's fine. But I'd rather learn from somebody else that's already been there, done that, and you know, move along from there. All right. Well, I think we have beat up, and we lost Chris. Can you believe it? I think we have beat up every thing that we can talk about as far as getting started. Hopefully, this gives you some tips when you're listening to the show that you can get started in your business and be able to go ahead and get started, with a minimum amount and just kind of build it over time, with the thought process of you are going to build it over time. Let's see, Aaron, if people wanted to find out more about you or get a hold of you, what's the best way that they could do that?
The best, easiest way is just to come to my website, www.techutors.com, and all my social icons are up there on the top right. You can hit any one of them to get a hold of me.
Awesome. Well, appreciate you coming out today and sharing with us.
Thank you.
And John, if people want to find out more about you, where could they do that?
Email is preferred, johnh@computerpros.net. I got a surprising amount of emails from the last show that we did, so I hope I got back to everybody. If not, send it again. But yeah, email.
Sounds good. Yeah, I got a lot of surprising emails about you too. It was all good.
Did you get that one with the embarrassing picture?
No, they loved the information you were sharing on there. A couple people were asking about the images we had talked about on the show.
Yeah. I haven't got a time to get that stuff to you, but I'm working on it.
I know. I figured so. So that's what I sent him a reply back and saying, hey, when he gets around to it, and gets it to me, I'll go ahead and pass that out. But I figured some people would probably hit you up on that too. So
quite a few. I have probably 24.
Nice. Yeah. You get more emails than I do. Appreciate it, John. Appreciate you coming on the show and sharing with us.
Thank you.
And Mr. Marvin, Man in the Van, how can people find out more about you?
.net.
I'm sorry. Yes, maninthevan.net. You can go there. Or yeah, that's where I'm going to change it now. So in the show notes this time, it's going to say maninthevan.net. We're going to get rid of that mbsystems.net. We're not going to talk about that anymore. That business is dead to me.
All right, Mr. Fork in the Eye.
Does that mean that your chat handle is going to turn to Man in the Van instead of the MB Systems Inc.?
Oh, it should be Uncle Marv.
Uncle Marv.
I don't know if Uncle Marv works.
UncleMarv.com. I have it, but it's not up. I'll put that up over the next year. That'll be nice. Once the Man in the Van phase is done, we'll move over to Uncle Marv.
Awesome. Well, appreciate you coming out and sharing your 2 cents with us. It was good insight I liked the panel we had in the subject we talked about because we kind of all hit it from different angles. So definitely appreciate that. Yep. And last but not least, Mr. Chris. Go ahead and go ahead and pimp yourself to the audience.
That's what I do. All right.
No, that's wrong type there. Anyway.
Yeah, no, this is a family show. So this is my name is Chris Carruthers from Remote Support Tech Team. We provide white label IT services to computer companies. You can reach us at info@rstechteam.com. You can go to our website, www.rstechteam.com. I can't talk today. Or you can call us at 866-568-2813.
Excellent. Appreciate you coming out and sharing also, as usual, and being the opposite of me. So I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
Jetpack Live is Monday, October 19th. We talked about this earlier at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. Learn real ways to grow your IT business. You can check it out over at itjetpack.com. Come join us live for the Computer Repair Podcast every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern over at podnutz.com/live. Remember, when you go there, you're just going to click on the Computer Repair Podcast, and it'll take you to the live page, which should be up and running to watch past episodes all week. We also have audio available over at podnutz.com or subscribe using your favorite podcatcher. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Computer Repair Podcast. You can email questions and feedback to us. Keep the questions coming in, and any feedback you have for the show, we read and reply to everything. You can send that to podnutz@podnutz.com. Or you can leave a voicemail at 1-888-697-0162. You guys can also support this show by going to patreon.com/Computer Repair Podcast. And we would definitely, if you're getting something out of this show, and you can, do not feel obligated, but go ahead and feel free to give back a little bit, and so we can do some cool things with this show moving forward. And I want to thank everyone for listening and subscribing to the show. We'll see you next time on Podnutz, the Computer Repair Podcast. Nice. Woo. Good show, everyone. Appreciate all the input.
Yeah, it was fun.
And now I understand why. Why this computer updated on me.
What did you do?
What'd you do? Windows 10?
No. Well, it's Windows 10, but no, that wasn't the reason. It was actually the tool, the automated tool I have on it was supposed to push it during this time, and I wasn't thinking about it on this particular computer. So I'll go in and make those adjustments later. So, anyways. Hey, we always
Jeff,
learn something.
I got a question for you.
Yep.
On the Patreon thing, I was over there going to sign up. What's the overhead on that? Do they charge you, like, if I give you $1 per episode, do they take 10 cents or anything? Or
There's a percentage, to be honest with you. I never read that far, but yeah, there is a percentage off. I don't get the, that's part of what they do is they provide a service where they kind of take off the top, and then you get the rest. So
I was just curious how they made their money on that. I figured it was something like a small percentage or something.
Yeah. I don't think it's huge. I mean, a lot of people have raved about them and said, it's great. It's a great medium for, and the whole thing with the Patreon thing is it's supposed to be patron of the arts is the reason I think they came up with the name. So if you like the art that somebody's doing, which is kind of what we do here, I guess it's kind of artistic, right, Chris?
It can be artistic. I mean, right?
There you go.
You gotta get that ponytail.
Yeah, straighten out the ponytail.
Speaking, that's right. Yeah, gotta tighten that up a little bit. I'm looking at the Patreon page too, and it looks like we have 3 patrons at $7 an episode.
Yep. Yes, we do. Yeah, I mentioned them last week. Were you here last week?
I was here last week.
Didn't you remember that? Oh, okay.
I probably remembered that last week.
Yeah. No, it's awesome. Yeah, three patrons right now, and total of $7 per show. So every time we produce a show, we get paid somewhere in the vicinity of $7, which is cool. So we can put that into hopefully some equipment upgrades and different things, and if we get it going really good, we'll be able to do some giveaways and stuff like that. So that's my goal and intention. We'll see how it goes.
Cool. Sounds good.
Cool.
Well, I'm out. I'll see you guys next week, maybe.
Okay, sounds good, John.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Thanks. All right, and I think we're going to go ahead. We're at the almost 5:30 mark, so I think I'm going to go ahead and stop the live show. Appreciate everyone coming out this week and watching us and being involved in the chat room and all that. So we'll see you next Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Have a great one.